Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:01. Oh my gosh. This computer just froze. Let's see. Can we get a roll call, please, Ms. Bell?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Trustee Ochapinti,
Here.
Trustee Salahuddin,
Here.
Trustee Garrett,
Present.
Vice President Lee,
Here.
President Tejada.
Here. Let's see. So can we get an approval of the agenda?
Would you like for me to call the student trustee? Or-
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. Let's see. Trustee Her,
Here.
Trustee Green,
Present.
Trustee Lee,
Here.
Okay.
and I believe that is, Trustee Kleinfeld,
Here. Thank you.
and that's all I see of the student trustees.
All right. So I called for an approval of the agenda. Ms. Preste, you said there were some changes.
Thank you, President Tejada. I have two changes. We would like to pull item 10A, Student of the Month. The student was not able to attend at the last minute, and so we are going to place it instead on the May 4th agenda. We would like to have him here. And then the other item that we're going to pull is 12A21. It is a job description for social worker. We have some additional changes. We may bring it forward at a later date. So we're just going to pull that for tonight.
All right, thank you. Let's see, can we, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Ochapinti.
Yes, I would like to pull item 12C22 for discussion as well.
12C22.
Yes, this is a contract with Castle Systems LLC.
Okay. Okay, we'll pull that. Move it to action or discussion or action? Ms. Presta.
Yes, I would move it to action so that you can take
Okay.
action on the item after discussion.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. Thank you. Trying to get used to this new system here in person. All right, so with those changes,
Move to approve agenda as amended.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now on to the approval of minutes. Are there any changes to any of the minutes? I actually would like to make one small change to the minutes of March 30th, in that it is that the meeting was adjourned in honor of my father. I'd like that put on there. Okay, Nick, Mr. Ochapinti?
Yes, thank you. I also have actually several changes to the minutes in terms of just accounting my comments. I'm not sure about other board members, but I just want to make sure that it was a full, I guess, accounting of my comments at several meetings. So I can actually forward that to Ms. Bell, if that's possible at a later time.
Okay. Well, I think maybe now we should
We can
discuss
approve the agenda. We can approve the minutes now, and then
Mhm.
whatever comments that he has, we can bring those back to the next meeting to amend.
Okay, that's a good idea. Because we ought to have a discussion of what minutes are. They're basically just summaries, and it is up to us if we want to add any detail, as in more detailed comments. But I think, it's just supposed to basically record actions and discussions and just be very, not a super detailed summary of a meeting, nothing verbatim. But let's do that. Let's approve, if I can get a motion to approve the minutes for now, the minutes that are presented to us as amended. And then we can bring back the minutes that Mr. Ochapinti would like to amend, and we can bring that at a later date.
And I would also just add too that the reason why I'm not too concerned about the minutes being super detailed is that there's YouTube. And so whenever I need to go back to look at a meeting to see like what, was there a detail that I missed or something I need to revisit, I can just watch the YouTube video, and I usually have a pretty good idea on our agenda, like where it was.
Right.
And so that is actually easier for me to do than to scroll through lengthy minutes. So that's just why I'm okay with more truncated minutes, because we are filmed and there's a video record. That's easier to access. Previously, we were just recorded via tape, and you would have to come to the district office to get to access to those tapes. But now we can just do it at any time online. So
very true.
Yeah. And I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the board minutes that are listed in the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And I'd like to report out of closed session that the board voted unanimously to uphold the public employee dismissal. And now on to communications. Let's get the board report. Let's start with our student trustees. Mr. Green?
For Jefferson High School, I have nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
All right. Is that Ms. Hurt?
Good evening. This week, Shanna, we will not be having regular school Thursday and Friday because we will be having senior X presentations, and seniors will be presenting to advisories, and juniors are going to start taking notes for senior exhibition, which we will be starting very soon. And on Thursday and Friday, no one will be in person. There will be around 4 presentations per advisory on Thursday and 3 on Friday to make time for rally, which will be our first online rally. It is Disney themed and it has mandatory attendance. And the rally committee in ISB has been working really hard to create games for the rally, and students can sign up for that on a Google form. And we also have Spirit Week. And from what I've heard in classes and from other students so far, the hybrid learning has really helped with motivation and finishing work. And lastly, until the 23rd, the students can submit cards, notes on a Jamboard, or short appreciation videos for healthcare workers that will be sent to various locations. And that is what I have to report.
Thank you. Ms. Kleinfeld?
Yes, good evening, everyone. What I have to report for Terra Nova's end is that we've resumed in-person learning as of last Thursday, and everything seems to be going pretty well so far. You know, students are following the social distancing guidelines. I was one of those people in person, and let me tell you, it is very motivating to be back in class. Although I'm on Zoom in class, it's still pretty motivating just to be able to sit around in a class and see, just be there in person, even if there is a little bit of an echo, but you take what you can get. And also, sports are in full swing. I know I heard a water polo match going on yesterday while I was at track practice, and I know track is having their first meet, and football had their last game last Friday. And yeah, I think that's all I have to report for now. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I know in student advisory, you had mentioned if you ever had the opportunity to join track, you would. So what event did you end up picking?
Since there's no pole, I couldn't do that. But I did end up doing shot put and discus. So
awesome. Okay, thank you. So we're on to Miss Irene Lee.
Good evening, everyone. So I just want to mention how since April 15th, since 16 and older have been eligible for vaccines, a lot of students are trying to get their vaccines. And I know some who already got their first dose. And seniors who opted in for hybrid in-class learning are currently really enjoying it. And they're actually having a lot of motivation to get work done or to go to school every day. And then starting next week, freshmen will be going to school for the people who opted in. And seniors last week, seniors received an email that we will be having an graduation, which really means a lot to the seniors since we didn't have anything this year. And tomorrow and next Wednesday is scheduled to have for juniors to have their CAS testing. I believe tomorrow will be the English and next Wednesday will be the math testing. And recently Westmore Community has received an email about a positive COVID test in the athletic department. And however, they are taking proper protocols, which is really nice. That's all I have to report, and thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, move on to our school board members. Ms. Salahuddin.
Thank you, President Tejada. So I have a couple of things. The first one is this Thursday, the REACH Coalition in partnership with Bay Area Health is hosting a panel on race, culture, and the special needs community that myself and my son are going to be on, as well as Trustee Owahi from Jefferson Elementary and others, which I'm really excited about because when we're talking about special needs community, especially when Kareem was smaller, I really didn't see that many people that looked like us talking about what it was like and the experiences. So I put a link to that in the chat, and I'm hoping if you are available on this Thursday at 5:30, you can attend. I hope it'll be very beneficial and the start of a conversation that's ongoing. The other thing that I wanted to say is just really a heartfelt thank you to every JUHSD employee for all the hard work that it took to get to last week, and really making sure that we had a space in place for all of our students, regardless of whether they wanted to come back in person or stay in distance learning, that there was a pathway for them to choose how they felt safe in the environment that they were the most comfortable in, to continue their education through the end of the school year. So I am internally grateful for the work that is done, and I can't say thank you enough to everybody, so thank you. And then the last thing I want to say is that we are, we have our equity statement on our agenda. And today was the verdict in the George Floyd case, which I am relieved about. I'm not happy, but I'm relieved. But I will say that, Black lives need to matter in Daly City and San Mateo County as well. And I was glad I was on vacation last week after the shooting that happened by the Daly City Police here in our own city that resulted in a death of a Black male who was at a car that had a flat tire. So when we're talking about our equity statement, and I know we're going to get to it, but the first line is the JUHSD uses our educational systems to right current and historical inequities by examining and understanding how our decision-making reinforces or interrupts injustice. I think we can't, from a school board, we can't create world peace, but we can decide who we do and don't let on our campus. And I will just again call for the fact that I don't know any organization that has a track record that Daly City Police has that we would allow on campus. So I feel like I know that laws are broken and sometimes we have to have them here for legal reasons, but I feel like until they can do some sort of reform to where I don't have to worry about somebody that looks like my son or another one of our students doing something that is benign and losing their life, or having the police called on them because they are undocumented, or having a mental health crisis and having 6 to 7 officers show up. I mean, it's just repeat after repeat after repeat offense. And so I really feel like we should look at our policy and practice and use it to encourage them to take the same path that we are in terms of trying to equitably serve all of our students in a safe way. So that's all I have to say on there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ochapinti?
Yeah, thank you for that, Trustee Salahuddin. To echo some of those comments and just a lot of what our community has been saying over the last almost 2 weeks. A man, Roger Allen, is his name. Roger Allen was shot and killed by Daly City police officers on April 7th, not far from Jefferson High School, actually, just a few blocks down. And, you know, listening to the verdict today and watching national news and seeing that measure of justice, we know is not equal justice. Justice would be that crime never been committed in the first place, killing a man, murdering George Floyd, and everything around that we know has happened for centuries. And a track record that police have in every jurisdiction, in every city, in every community. We know that we do live in a police state, and the highly militarized communities that we live in, even with the small reforms that have been asked, have not been enough to ensure justice thus far. But today is definitely a moment, as our Vice President and President have spoken to. It's a moment to build on, and a significant moment that I feel like we should be seeing and echoing here in our community, especially in our district. I just want to say too, you know, to our community and to, of course, our students, staff, faculty, parents, families, that, you know, nobody here should feel like they need to live in fear of anything, not a fear of police while the police are doing their job, not in fear of police violence, surely not in the event of a police officer making an uncalled for stop at a parked car in a residential neighborhood. That could be any of us. That could, especially those of us who are racially profiled in our community, and especially our Black community here. And so in support of the family of Roger Allen, of course, and of all of our students, just want to say that, you know, what we're doing here as a school district, we can do within the scope of our power to voice that message. And I'm certainly proud of a lot of the students, or at least the youth in the community, who have been speaking up online and even joining offline in protests here in Daly City and in San Francisco. And we see that in the news that this is having an impact, not only on how we discuss things within our community, but in terms of the conversations being had by the media and being promoted in those media narratives. We can't simply accept a police report at face value. Unfortunately, we can say that as a fact. And so in spirit of that, and looking at the murder of George Floyd and the trial, we shouldn't even have to have a perfect storm of evidence at times. We know we haven't had transparency in this city, but just to echo those calls for transparency and our role as public officials, and certainly as a community to speak up and not feel afraid to speak up as well. I just want to say, express my pride and you know, extend that in terms of solidarity, you know, to our community speaking up, to feel like they feel empowered to do that. And in that spirit, to echo what Trustee Sullivan was saying, you know, one of the things we can do here as an educational institution is to echo that not only in our messages, but in our actions. And so in terms of just kind of supporting and promoting the work we're doing in this district, there are things that we continue to do that I think can play a role in advancing that, like promoting ethnic studies, supporting restorative justice, and of course, mental health and wellness in our communities, so that we can get not only beyond this and create some reforms, but that we can reimagine how we are a part of that process and not just hearing decisions coming down, because it shouldn't take all that, but sometimes it does. That said, I just want to say also that it is Earth Day this week. And so in honor of that, I know we have some of these items we've been talking about in recent weeks, but there are a couple of things in our community that deserve that attention. I think in the spirit of pursuing social justice, we have to understand that climate justice is part of that, and that the impact on our communities as communities of color, and especially in urban communities like Daly City, where we don't have much access to green spaces. Earth Day is a part of understanding our planet and our environment as one, and that involves people and how we interact with the environment. So with respect to whether it's the garden here at Serramonte Del Rey or Thornton Beach here in Daly City, or anything in our community that provides access and some balance to our community, things that we don't have because of the nature of the communities we live in, that we fight for those in the same vein. And so I'll leave that at that and pass on to the next trustee.
Thank you. Ms. Garrett?
I don't have too much to say, except I do echo my fellow trustees' sentiment about what is going on in this world. I'd like to take the perspective of, even though there are things that we can always do better, every impact and every positive thing that we can make to move the needle is a step in the right direction to get to where we want to be. So as our role in the community and serving our students, you know, the fact that we are always reevaluating what is most equitable to our district and the students that we serve is one more positive thing and impact as far as us moving the needle to get to where we need to be equitable to our community. And it is all of our responsibility to have that voice and advocate for that. So I just want to say that, and I do appreciate that today that we are having the equity statement on our agenda to keep moving forward to get to where we need to be. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I have a few things here. First off, earlier today, we had our facilities subcommittee meeting. It was really mainly a brainstorming session, looking at, you know, since the project is about to undergo the environmental impact report over the next year. So looking at, you know, furthering our community outreach ideas, how we can continue to speak to our community, make sure they understand what's happening on this site. You know, we're pretty excited about what's going to transpire up here. So we want to make sure other people can understand the excitement that we have surrounding this project as it's going to be moving forward. Sachin, you know, this is really glad to be here in person. Jake, great job with the boardroom cam. Really pretty cool to be able to see all of us in here like this. Really grateful to see everybody here again. You know, nice to see President Tejada here. It's really it's pretty cool just to be in person with people. So, oh, and she has her gavel. So watch what you say, because she just might gavel you out. So no, but seriously, the reality is, knowing that we do have our students and our staff back on campus. You know, of course, we know there are many staff that never did leave the campus, and we do give a huge shout out to those staff members who have served us tirelessly over the past year on our campuses. But certainly with the many who have returned and with the students who have returned, it's only appropriate that we are here back on campus in the district office and in the boardroom to be meeting together, which is, again, just nice to see everybody. As far as just other things that I've done, you know, continue to help out Ms. Salahuddin on Saturday mornings over at Terra Nova to do COVID testing. Always good to see our community come out there. You know, it's starting to recognize the kids behind their masks now. That's actually, you know, if I don't see them with their masks, I might recognize them now, because I only recognize them with their masks on. It's pretty funny, but they know the drill. They recognize me. It's actually pretty cool. It's nice to see the community come out for that. And then, you know, a couple of weeks ago, right around the Easter holiday weekend, you know, we had the Stop Asian Hate rally in Pacifica. You know, it's been exhausting, right? Because it's, whether we have Black Lives Matter or anti-Asian hate, you know, it's just been an exhausting year, I think, for those of us people of color, certainly. But it was wonderful to see the community outreach and support that particular Saturday morning. Ms. Van Raphorst, thank you for being out there. It was wonderful to see you and your son out there that Saturday morning, and so many community members coming out in support. And also a shout out to Ms. Chrislyn Garino from the Terra Nova Asian Club, who made a statement that Saturday morning. And so it was nice to see, you know, a couple hundred people coming out march from the Pacifica Community Center over to Rockaway Beach. So, and thank you to those community members who came out. And that is all that I have. Thank you, President Tejada.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you can indulge me. This may be a little lengthy. So as you know, my father passed away on March 6th, and I'm just pretty much heartbroken. And I had to reassess my life because, you know, for 2.5 years, I took care of my mother. And when she passed away, I went directly to taking care of my father for the last 2 years. And And now I'm feeling an immense guilt because I don't have to worry about him anymore. And I have struggled with what's best for me and my kids right now. I have been taking care of others for longer than I know, and I have no one to take care of me but me. I have a lot of support. I know how to get the resources. I am reaching out. But what do I do to take care of me? I'm involved in a lot of stuff. And I had to ask myself, can I continue to serve on this board? Is my heart in it? Can I be effective? Is it the best thing for me and my kids? And I have to say that my dad would want me to do whatever I felt was best for us. But he was so proud of me serving on this board. He and my mother. And he served on so many organizations. He was an officer in almost every veterans organization there was. He always found time for it. So my heart is here. I'm going to have to drop some other things so that I can devote myself to JUHSD. I'm sorry. It's about the drama. It's that gavel. It's that gavel got me. But, you know, I've been stressed a lot about, you know, vaccine for my kids. Now that, you know, Carly's 17 and I've been online trying to find, you know, vaccines. And then I just went, Andy, do you have Alyssa Jenkins' number? And I texted her. She said, easy. There are 2 slots today. Can you go to the Coliseum? I went, oh my God. And I said to her, you don't know how much stress you've taken off of me. And she said, then that's what I want to do. I want to take, if I can take some stress off of you, that's what I'm here for. And that's how I view, if I can take the stress off of you in this room, off our students and our families, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I don't necessarily like what's been happening lately on our board. You know, it seems like there's some dissension, but we're a good board. And what I need to focus on as president, I'm supposed to be the architect of the meeting. And we need to find our governance team unity of purpose. Because the unity of purpose helps our team members transcend their differences so that we can fulfill that greater purpose. And we all love this district. That is number one. You know, we love this district. We have done everything we can, you know, I mean, on a shoestring. And our executive cabinet, Ms. Van Raphorst, Ms. Basuino, Ms. Baca, I mean, oh my God, Ms. Presto, we have really, the big lift you have done is amazing. And I just want to live up to that. Thank you. So I really thought about, is this the meeting where I say I can't do this anymore? But I can, you know, I'm here for you. You've all been there for me. And I'm here for this district. I grew up here. This is where I belong. I was elected. And I want to be sure that the Serramonte Del Rey revitalization goes through without a hitch, because it's so important to the health of our district and this community. And that was the thing that turned me around this week. I said, I gotta be there. I gotta see this through. And now on top of that, I would like to congratulate our student trustee, Madeline Herr, for being named the Daly City Youth Poet Laureate, the first ever in all of San Mateo County. Madeline, and our first runner-up was Jacente Marcelina from Jefferson High School. And I was honored to be a judge, as I was the president of the DCPLA, and I was a judge. And it was an honor to read all of the work from these students from middle school through high school. I was a published poet in a former life, and it just wowed me. So Madeline, you're incredible. You definitely were the unanimous vote for all the judges. You're such a standout. And but it was hard with everyone else. It was really hard to find. Everyone was so good. So with that, thank you for indulging me. I will hold on to this gavel for a little while longer. And it's good to be in the same room with all of you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm sorry. Thank you. So Superintendent Report, Ms. Presta.
Thank you, President Tejada. You gave all of us a bit of a heart attack. People were looking at me like, do you know something? And I was like, no, I don't. And this better not be how I find out. That said with all the love.
You didn't see my text from 1 in the morning? When you're still up?
When we're both still up working, exactly. Thank you. So I'm going to speak more when we present during discussion about the return to school, but I do want to just say right now, I echo the sentiments of our board members when I say that I am so very, very proud of all of us, of every person in this school district, for getting our students back, and for the joy that I saw this week and last week on our campuses. I have been in the schools quite a bit these past several days, starting when we came back in hybrid. I've been walking with our board. I keep sucking in my mask. Been walking around, visiting classrooms, greeting students, seeing teachers, seeing classified staff members and administrators, walking with Monica Casey, our union president. And it has been really like, it's joyful, you know, it's like the first day of school in the spring. We kind of joke with people that we're planning graduations and we're also planning, you know, first day back. So it's, it just makes all of the hard work that everybody's doing really, really worth it when you know, you just hear people who saying that, you know, they were quite nervous and now they're just feeling so good being around their colleagues. Students really happy to be back. And I'm not saying that every single person is really thrilled. I think there are certainly some people who it still makes nervous. But I feel very, very confident in all of our protocols. I feel very, very confident in how our schools are set up and our responses to everything. So I just really want to say that I'm very proud of everyone in this district and really grateful. So I wanted to start off with that. The next thing I wanted to say is that President Tejada stole my thunder a little bit about congratulating Madeline Herr, but I was so thrilled to be there watching, and it was actually a really great event, so well done. I watched the event along with many in the community here right now. the library event on Saturday, and it was so well done. It was wonderful to hear from all of the different poets, and it was just a really nice way to spend your Saturday evening, actually. But I was really thrilled and impressed, Madeline. Terrific job. And I was going to read off some of the other names. So President Tejada mentioned that Jacent Marcelino was named first runner-up, along with Madeline. And then the finalists, there were some middle school students, Hannah Docampo Pham and Chloe Chow. Jefferson students Iris Lee, Alan Mata, Jacent Marcelino, as we mentioned, and Lindsay Pagadwan. And then Oceana student, of course, Madeline Her is our poet laureate. Westmore students Brianna Lung and Eva Pradhan, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing, and Mission High student Natalie Perez. So really congratulations to all of those students. I'm really proud of them putting themselves out there and taking a chance. And it was a great event, so kudos. And then finally, she's not expecting this, but I just wanted to thank April Hawkins, our Director of Communications, is going to be moving on. She has a new exciting opportunity. We are sad to see her go, but she is going to be moving on to her new position on, I think her last day here is April 28th. So April, I just want to thank you publicly for all of the good work that you've done for our district, and I'm really grateful to you. So thank you. And we will miss you. And that's it for me.
All right. Now for the AFT Local 1481 report, Ms. Casey.
Hello. It's good to be here with everyone. I'm really glad that we made that commitment to come back. Although, as I was saying that to myself, I was thinking we should have been back in person the whole time, because there were plenty of staff members that were required to be on campus throughout the whole year. So it's like this catch-22. But I am proud of us that we're here. And I'm glad to be here as well, to see everybody live, even though half of our faces are covered. That's okay with me. I'm okay with that. Like Tony mentioned, we were on campuses this week and last week. Some of the campuses we want it to be on, we want it to be on all the campuses before students came. And you'd go on a campus and you'd be like, okay, we've got an hour so we can get to the next place. And 2.5 hours later, we'd still be on campus talking to people. People are just thrilled to talk to each other and see each other live. And again, it's not everyone, not everybody's as thrilled. But if I was to give a guess, being a math teacher, I'd say 85% of the people are pretty thrilled. So similarly, I want to just report out that not Tony and I didn't go everywhere together. We tried, but we, there were times where she had a meeting and I just stayed on a campus. So I've seen probably 90% of the district office staff, Jefferson staff, Oceana staff, and TN staff. I've seen Best Garage about 80%, Westmore about 60%, and my home, away from home, Thornton, 100%. So the one thing that most people are saying is that they're really thrilled to see the students. And then when I meet the students, or I go in the classroom and the students look up and they say, hi, they're so thrilled to see people. And I'd say, again, 95% of the students have been really happy to be on campus. And then about 5% are like, I really don't want to do this, but my parents made me do this, or, somebody told me I had to be here. So that it's been really, really sweet to be with the students again. I miss the students, and in this position, I'm full-time, adult person. It feels really good to see the students, see their smiles. And then some I recognize, like I'm at Jefferson a lot. So a lot of them I've seen a lot. So they recognized me. And then at TN, I substituted for Terry when she was a math teacher. And they recognize me and I recognize them, and it's so sweet. So that's the positive part about it. The negative side of it, obviously, is, we do have some people that are not thrilled about being there because they feel unsafe or they feel worried. They feel whether for themselves or their family members. And, I just want to say I appreciate what we've done for some of those people. I know, some of them we've been able to make accommodations or modifications. Some of them we have not. But I appreciate that we've taken the time. Dana Lujan has taken the time. Doreen has taken the time to speak with them when it's necessary. So I appreciate that. But I also have some things that I'm concerned about students that maybe didn't get the right message or didn't understand what we were asking when we did our surveys. And, this has been the hardest thing on the planet that I've ever done, aside from giving birth and having a preemie. That was very hard and difficult. And, this is right up there, the hardest thing in my life. And so I just know that we're all working with a moving target and nonstop. I mean, most of us in this room probably work well over, I can't even tell you how many hours, but I'm just concerned about those students who are at risk and are still not at school, and they really need to be. And I don't know what we can do about it, but I think we should maybe talk about it and figure out a way to get them on campus, even though they may not have gotten the message or ignored the message or whatever happened. But I'm very proud of everybody and the staff on the campuses. It's great to see everybody. So thank you. That's all.
You're muted. I'm like, what? Duh. So now we've got the department return to campus and COVID-19 updates. Ms. Presta.
Thank you. So most of us are going to do our report in the discussion section when we're going to talk about the hybrid return. But I think Ms. Basuino actually did have an update for right now.
Yeah, good evening. So I just wanted to give you a quick update with athletics. Our district, along with South City, they've been collaborating to compete with basketball and volleyball. And they would be following the county health protocols of having students testing 48 hours prior to competition. So students would test on Saturdays and show proof of a negative COVID test on Monday so that they would be able to compete. So the schedules to compete would be for the next 4 Mondays. So April 26th, May 3rd, May 10th, and May 17th. So a big shout out to our ADs who really tried to figure out how this could work, to the students and the athletes who are committed to giving up a Saturday to do the testing, to the community members, Kalima, Mr. Lee there, being out on Saturday to help with the testing. It's really making a difference for our athletes who have been practicing and now will have an opportunity because of some creative fancy dancing. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that they've been working on that. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And I just want to say thank you to you too, Doreen, for working that out, because I know that was a huge issue of concern for them. So thank you for working that out. So that they could all come. I was really cool. I was like, we've never fully booked for testing. So I was like, what is going on? Oh no. Yeah. 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 And it went very smooth. it was really cool to see all the South City students as well as all the normal JUHSD students come out at Jefferson this weekend. And yeah, we worked really smooth. All the coaches were there too. So it was a really fun Saturday for me, even though it's a long Saturday. It was really fun to see all the students and how excited they were, and how excited they were to see their coach. So thank you for working that out. It was nice.
Yeah, and one of the things that you brought that up, they were trying to really match the 48 hours. So they were pushing kids to try to meet at 5:30 to get tested so they could play at 5:30 on Monday. And I said, no, John, test on Saturday, play on Monday. Like, we're not matching 48 hours. So
I reiterated that to him. Like, it's 48 hours because I was like, they don't get to the lab. So it's fine. You don't have them all. They all don't need to come exactly at 5:30. We handled it fine. It was no problem. But I was like, you can spread them out next time. So we're good to go. Yeah, no, they all listened to their coach because they all showed up at 5:30. I was like, what is happening? And he explained it. So we worked it out. It was great.
Awesome. So, Ms. Presta, that's it. Okay, thank you for that. Now we're moving on to the consent agenda. One item had been pulled. So can I get a motion to approve those remaining on the consent agenda?
Move to approve consent as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'm scrolling. All right. Do we have public comment?
We do not have public comment for tonight, as far as I know.
All right, thank you. And on to our discussion items. So Ms. Presta, we've got the hybrid update.
Thank you. Please bear with me because I'm going to share my screen on a laptop and I'm not very good at this. So hang on one moment. Now I can't get to my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing. My apologies. It's really hard for me to navigate this on my laptop. When I present, I can't get to the.
I'm sorry, Ms. Presta. I think I have permission. Would you like me to try?
I would love that. It's not working on mine. Thank you. Don't ever apologize for trying to be helpful. Thank you. Awesome. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, so I will start us off. I did my big thank you already, but I want to just reiterate that we've accomplished a really big lift in bringing our staff and students back to campus, and I'm extremely proud. So once again, thank you to my executive cabinet. I didn't call them out specifically earlier, but really, I think Ms. Casey mentioned that we're all working really long hours, but honestly, 12+ hour days are commonplace. And I'm really grateful to my executive cabinet. So thank you. Thank you to everybody. And from that, I will introduce the presentation and then turn it over to my colleagues. So we're going to start off with Ms. Van Rapphorst talking about facilities. Tina. I know.
There we go. All right. Thank you, Ms. Presta. Good evening, everyone. So I just picked out some highlights from some of the safeguards that we have in place. This is not an exhaustive list, but thought I would give you a little taste of what we've been doing. So the areas that we're cleaning multiple times a day, well, not me, our wonderful custodial staff. The bathrooms are being cleaned between each class period. All the high-touch surfaces and the common rooms are cleaned multiple times a day. And these are tracked on a log that is kept in the main office so that anybody can see when's the last time they've been cleaned. And that log is also monitored by the site lead custodian and the site administration. And then one time per day, we clean the rest of the campuses. So we sanitize each classroom every night. We bought ionized sprayers so that we can get through the whole campus every night doing that. The gyms, the cafeterias, the libraries, and any areas that are used by the athletes. And just a note, not on sanitizing, but we are monitoring the ventilation systems, as I mentioned in previous presentations, with our handheld CO2 sensors. And even Ms. Presta and Ms. Casey have been walking around with the sensors, and it's been good. We've seen that our ventilation systems are working properly, and the CO2 sensors confirm that by making sure that CO2 is not building up in the rooms. It shows that the ventilation is circulating. And our site custodial staff, we have support that is ready if needed. So we met with each, well, I didn't, but our director of facilities and maintenance and operations, Mr. Peppers, met with each site team and outlined, this is all of the work that needs to be done. How are you guys going to handle it? Do you need extra help? Do we want to bring on any extra people? And they were really proud of what they've been doing, and they were really invested in wanting to take care of it themselves. So we're offering extra overtime if they need it. Some people might work a little over their shift or come in a little bit early to make sure everything can get done. And then if that is not sustainable, because I worry about that being sustainable, we do have our staff from the bus garage that's been trained on all the sanitation equipment. So they're ready to help if needed. And they're ready to help if we need to quarantine any of our custodial staff. And then if even more staff is needed, we do have access to a temp agency that has been pre-screened by our insurance company, that they have all the proper training to be on school campuses. So that would be our next line if we need additional staff. But for right now, we've been able to keep up. We also have hand sanitation stations. Every single classroom has wall-mounted dispensers, as well as office areas, staff lounges, locker rooms, gyms, libraries, cafeterias. All of those have wall-mounted hand sanitizers like we have in this room right here. And then we've also procured some portable sanitation stations. I'm not sure that they're all fully deployed yet, so they might not be in all of these places yet, but we do have 36 total. They'll be at the entries to the schools and entries to the larger rooms like the gyms, because they're, there's one on the wall, but it's better to have more than just one in those large areas. Pretty much we're like leaving it up to the site's administration at each school to determine where they think it's best to deploy these. And that is all that I had to share.
Great. I'm going to provide a very quick update about SamTrans. So if you want to go to the next slide. SamTrans, right now, students who are taking the SamTrans during hybrid instruction, you can see it broken down by school. We have 22 students at Jefferson, 31 at Oceana, 30 at Terra Nova, 2 at Thornton, 25 at Westmore. You can see underneath that in blue, the lines that are operating. The lines that are crossed out are currently not operating. This poses a particular problem for Terra Nova, where the 14 is really the only bus that directly serves the school. We continue to work with SamTrans to try to get the lines opened up. They are evaluating requests on a first come, first served basis. They can't make any guarantees, and they're only serving high need routes. They're identifying high need routes based on income levels and also the number of people who actually take the bus in that area. If you go to the next slide, please. So I already said that, sorry. So currently Oceana, Westmore, and Jefferson are served by regular 3-digit bus routes, and Terra Nova is only served by the Flex Pacifica, which can only take 6 students at a time. And we've submitted all of our bill schedules to SamTrans and requested that they provide service matching the schedules. So we are waiting to figure out what is going to happen next with that.
Right. Good evening, President Tejada. Just like everyone else today, I visited some schools and it was really heartwarming to see students. I had a student basically said like, this is my first time at, this school ever. Where do I go? Where's PE? So it was just, I love it. This is why I'm here when seeing our students. So tonight I'm going to be going over the numbers. Who was there the first day? But before that, I want to give you the hybrid counts. So there was a change from the last time I presented to when we started, because a lot, 71 families actually opted out of hybrid and back into distance learning after the spring break. So we allowed students to go back to distance learning, and about 71 families said that they would prefer in distance learning. So during the day one, as of April 17, we had 10 students at adult transition, nobody at independent study, 240 at Jefferson, but just keep in mind that is the total number. But in day one, we had that 45 students for the 12th graders. And keep in mind that we broke it down by 2 cohorts or 2 groups. So it's split, 45 is split in half and not, everybody is there. This is week 2, so it's still our 12th graders and our prioritized pupils. Next week will be our freshman students. So Oceana, 186 total. Terra Nova had the highest percentage, which is 38%, 278 students. Very happy with our therapeutic day school because they are back in person. It was so nice to see them. Thornton, we have 23 students, Westmore, 137, and with a total of 880, which is about 21% of our total student population. Next slide, please. So day one hybrid attendance. So again, their priority was the 12th grade students and our prioritized pupils. However, it was really difficult to find out who the prioritized pupils were because they were different at each of the school site. So I just grabbed the numbers for our 12th grade students. So with adult transition, we had 5 that was scheduled for that day, which was Thursday. So 2 out of 5 showed up. For therapeutic day school, 5 out of the 6 students. Thornton, 5 out of 15, which is 33%. Jefferson, all of their students showed up. At Oceana, 14 out of 15, 93%. Terra Nova, 28 out of 29, 96%. And then Westmore, 11 out of 12, or 91%. So again, it was very nice to see students. Next slide, please. We will have a second window for families who want to opt into hybrid. So the timeline would be, we're gonna open it up again for families on April 28th through the 30th. And we need to give some time for administrators to prepare and see if we would be able to accommodate who wants to come back based again on their prioritized list. And then with that, our administrators will send either an acceptance or denial communication to our parents and guardians. And then May 10th would be the start date for the second round of opt-ins. That's all I have.
All right, so I will be giving the report on mental health for Melissa. So she reached out. And so as you probably already know, the students on campus, they can do in-person visits with their wellness counselors. We're still continuing to the Zoom and phone meetings at any time during the students that are off campus. And then counseling request forms for all schools are on each of the schools' websites, so they can reach out to their counselors, whether they're in person or off-site. And the wellness teams have continued to do extensive outreach to students and families regarding services offered. And as you know, she texted her wellness team last night just to try to get some numbers. And what she reported was they have had 7 total in-person meetings, as well as many phone and Zoom meetings. So, the kids are starting to outreach. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Does anybody have questions? No? Oh, okay. Ms. Salahuddin?
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. And so my first question is more on with the facilities and the cleaning. We know this is an ongoing issue. This is less specific to this and more about can we sustain this moving forward? Just because this is kind of the level of clean that we'd like to have. And I know it's currently possible because the federal government printed a lot of money, and I don't know why they can't just do that for schools and just give us, the money that we need to actually do the things that are required. So my question is just more is this something that we can sustain, or is it something that may have to end when the budget starts to tighten up after the funds go away?
I think that would be a discussion the board can have when we do budget discussions. I think, we do have COVID money for next year already. So sustaining it for the medium term is definitely possible. After that, I think we'll have to look at what the budget looks like each year.
Okay, and then the other question, and again, I don't know if we can answer this question, comment. There's, and maybe this is like helping advocacy, because there's a push to not allow distance learning next school year. So if we don't do that, we have to have a bus. So I don't know, has there been any indication from SamTrans on what their plans are? I know they're saying first year, first come, first serve. Is there a date that they're going to let us know? And, so we don't have a repeat of what happened when last time we were in person, where they let us know a few weeks before school started that they weren't going to be able to transport students. Has there any other information been given along those lines?
They have very clearly told us that they will not reinstate the 14 and that they are going to let us know by May 10th what their plans are for the next round.
Okay, that's not helpful. And my last question is on the mental health. And is it possible for students that are at home, is it possible for them to schedule appointments to come on campus? Because I know that was one of the issues that we had, where some students just didn't want to talk to their counselors on Zoom or at the house.
Yes. And the other thing is our wellness counselors are asking to be able to do home visits as well. So in both directions, the answer is yes.
Wow.
Fantastic. Thank you.
That's great. Any other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Ochapinti?
Yes, thank you. Actually, just to follow up, my question is also about SamTrans. 2 things. One, just to note that the 14 line was essentially cut even pre-COVID, and that was an issue. I know there were ongoing discussions between our district at the level of superintendent, at the level of whoever else is working on it, and there are some ongoing plans. I know SamTrans is undertaking some community outreach. To what extent that it's going to impact their decision remains to be seen, I suppose. But I guess my questions would be, one, what was the last, or when is the next discussion that we'll be having with SamTrans? Maybe a question for Superintendent Presta or anybody in the district office. My second question would be, do we know anything about those 3 public options? Has there been any discussion with our district at that level, or any mention of that? Because if they're already saying that by May 10th, there are final decisions or some kind of finality to this, then it would kind of, basically eliminate the process. They're asking for the community for input right now. And so I would hope that the community has a chance to do some public comment. So yeah, what was the last discussion we had, and when will be the next ones, and what are they saying that way? Because we need access to our schools regardless, and especially right now. So yeah.
So actually, I think Ms. Hawkins can speak to that because she's been the one who's been in discussion with them. April, do you?
So they're making decisions on an ongoing rolling basis based on their availability and also by what schools are coming back when. We have had, kind of like an ongoing discussion with them. They've definitely been open to discussing back and forth. And I will be handing this off to someone else next week, and that person will continue those discussions.
Got it. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay.
Just again, want to say thank you to everybody for all the work you've done to get this going. It's just an impressive, I know it's been a huge lift. I've had a lot of very interesting, shall we say, meetings, emotionally charged, quite frankly, but it's nice to see that, when you look at the numbers of the students who are there, and I think the reactions that you are all sharing with the students you're seeing and the teachers and staff that you're seeing, it's clear that, there's definitely an uplift in terms of the feel around the different campuses, and there's, and morale seems to be improving. So and I mean, just in the same way that we're all feeling it here in this very, very room, it's nice to see it amplified at each campus. So I can't thank you enough, frankly, for all the hard work you've done. And I certainly echo the sentiment that this has to have been the most difficult year for all of you in education. It's not like we've ever lived through a global pandemic before. And so again, thank you so much, really.
I just want to, I can't add to that because you've said it all. Just the amount of work everybody's done. I know everyone's put in so much time, and it's not like you don't have families. I mean, we had spring break, but I think everybody was basically working. You are just, I'm just really grateful for all of you and for all of the hard work you've put in. And it's really nice to hear the reports from you of your interactions with the schools. It's, my daughter elected to stay home. And she's waiting to see which friends of hers are going back, but most of them, they like lying down in bed while they're in class. So, I mean, oh my God, I'm glad she doesn't watch my board meetings, but and since I'm not at home, she can't hear me. But yeah, it's a wonder she's doing so well. She is. But yeah, but it's this has been such a difficult year, and I think you're all superstars. I'm really honored to work with all of you. Whenever I watch the news and I hear about all these other districts and everybody's complaining, and I'm thinking, you have no idea what we've done. God, we're awesome. And it's not me, it's them, it's our crew here at every level. God, the dedication. So I just want to thank you all. And also for putting together this presentation, which I know you're so busy, but you gave it this a priority for this meeting to keep everybody informed. So thank you very much.
I just also want to say really quickly, because I know we're talking a lot about the excitement of students that come back, but I know also speaking for the students that are really like distance learning, and that I hope that the state government doesn't force us to do away with it completely, because there's so many students that, you know, their work schedule, this has been a huge godsend for them to be able to do this for your work schedule, for if you have social anxiety disorders. I know my own daughter, you know, going to college online, she's done so much better because just the pressure of being in class sometimes is too much. But just being able to turn her screen off, go to the refrigerator, get some water, you know, calm down, and then come back. So for many students, and then for the students who, again, you know, at my job, we had an epidemiologist come and talk to us, and he was like, you talk about the pandemic, and a lot of people don't understand how bad it was, but it was like 260 commercial planes crashing every week. Like, that was a lot for a year. For the people who really lived through that hell, right? You know, and then you turn around and say, it's cool to get on a plane now. Like, maybe you don't want to get on a plane, maybe you want to wait. And so for those students as well and their families, like, I totally understand. They're saying, maybe I just want to wait until next year. So while I'm super excited for the students that came back, but I also am very happy that, you know, for those that chose not to come back right now, that is totally okay too. And that we are the district that really helped to do that and have that space for all those families. So, you know, if Carly's fine in the bed and she's doing well, I'm happy for her. You know, that's fantastic. So again, to all of our staff, and again, just a shout out to Ms. Casey, our union leader, because none of this would have been possible without that fantastic leadership, because we know what it's like when we don't have that. So yeah, I'm really proud to be a part of this district and all the work that was done. So thank you again to everyone.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as far as Carly goes, she doesn't thrill it. Sometimes I pop into her, I'm invited to her classroom. And then you see in the chat, Mom, what are you doing here? And you can hear her upstairs yelling. And then someone else in the chat says, I didn't know our parents could join the class. You know, I think I was invited, God. But, but, you know, I also have talked to some of her friends who said this, exactly what you were saying. It is being remote has helped them. They feel like they're thriving now because of the added pressure and then the social pressure, or even just being around kids they don't like. I mean, being a teenager, I never want to go back to that, but you know, it's sometimes you can't pick your classmates, so you know, there's some anxiety with that, but some of her friends are thriving in this environment. So, and it's also, they don't have to worry about having enough to, getting to class on time, passing periods, any of the social pressure, because they still stay in touch with each other. That's the great thing. And they still do homework together, which is also nice. So anyway, but thank you all for your hard work on this. And so now we're on to our action items. I think let's go with the item that was pulled. 12.C.2.2, the Castle Systems contract. So Mr. Ochapinti, you asked that be pulled. So did you have specific questions? I know that Ms. Van Raphorst had responded to an email and gave us more clarification, but is there something additional you wanted to ask?
Sure, thank you. First, I did see the email, but for the purposes of this meeting, would Ms. Van Raphorst want to review what her input was so we can discuss it? I appreciate that. Thank you.
Uh,
I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I think if you have any specific questions to go ahead and ask them, but I'm okay approving the agenda item as is with the information that I've already been given.
Same here. It was really pretty clear from the email exactly that this work is in the scope of the contract. So, and it was, you know, it was in the original scope, and Ms. Phillips was able to find the supplies, the supplier for a lot cheaper than what was in the original scope. So not only, you know, we're saving money actually by going with this vendor.
yeah. So if there is, do you have specific questions for Ms. Van Raphorst?
Yeah, actually, that was my question. Actually, Ms. Van Raphorst, can you please explain what was in the email so the public, we can know what we're discussing? Because I don't want to discuss anything without context so that we can have a valid discussion. Thank you.
So as presented in the agenda, what is before the board today is a recommendation for a video guarding system for our faculty and staff housing project. The contract is not to exceed $68,014.25 and would be paid for out of bond funds. This is a part of the original scope of work for the contractor JHF, and was pulled separately because we were able to find a vendor that was less expensive by taking it out of the scope of work. And this is a very, very small fraction of the overall project, and that's why it was put on consent.
All right, thank you. So I noticed the email covers some different topics, but I'll just speak to a few of the questions I had before that and why I pulled it. So we actually just approved a contract with Castle in the last meeting, if I'm not mistaken, for about $16,000, $17,000 in the neighborhood. That was actually listed, it was billed as camera and surveillance for the faculty and staff housing project. So we approved that. My questions then, or some of my questions now, is one, the efficacy of having that in the direction of what we're doing with it. Last meeting, the cameras were facing the back end of our district office, which isn't anywhere near the faculty housing project. But what was explained was that this contract from last time was part of the larger surveillance of the area. We have a preschool in the area. We have the street bordering the project. So we all have safety concerns, obviously. So my first question was that last time, in the same regard, this contract is about upwards of 3 times that amount. So for me, my first question is the cost. I saw in the email that it was cost prohibitive to contract a security company. I guess my first question would be, we're in a neighborhood of $80,000 for like a home security system for our district office around the construction project, which during the daytime, I would think doesn't need much security because you have people working on site. What were the other bids, or what other offers could we have? I find it hard to believe we can't afford adequate security, like a staff, like paying somebody an actual, living wage or something to do that job. But what were the other offers that we have to do in-person security for the site?
So we did not get bids on in-person security. We worked with JHF in determining what security was necessary for the project as dictated by our contract with them. And it was determined that cameras would be the best security in consultation with the contractor that is providing the construction. In regards to the other contract that came at the last board meeting, as I explained then, that separate contract is going to be monitored by our staff, and the contract that's before you today, the monitoring of the cameras will be done by JHF. The security that is being provided is in line with the amount of security that is provided on similar construction sites. This project is over $70 million, And it is really important that we safeguard that investment. When we applied for our insurance for this project, it was stipulated that we have security cameras. This is really a very standard operating procedure for a project like this. So I am kind of lost as to what other information I can provide.
Okay, so thank you for that. I guess a couple of things in response to that. One, so the contract that we approved last time wasn't clear. The understanding was, and the discussion was, that this was going to be the contract for the entire project. So just coming back to the board with another contract, I hope you're not at a loss to, to understand that we're spending another $68,000 plus on a video monitoring system. I understand it's a multi-million-dollar project, and I get that. My concern is this, at a time where our community is actually struggling economically, socioeconomically, I would explore the option. I would be interested in seeing that information on who we can have staff as security for our site, given that we will only need security when the construction site are not on site. I'm not sure that every construction site, if you're telling me this is standard operation, I'll take it at face value, but that it costs $70,000, in essence, over 70, we'll say what, about in the neighborhood of 80 or 90 to monitor that. That means we're spending, and this is only the first building of projected. If the Serramonte project goes through, there are 5 more buildings. So my concern is also that we're going to be spending maybe 5 or 6 times this amount per year. That's upwards of over.
Like I said, this was part of the $70 million. This was part of the original scope of work. When you approved the contract with JHF, you approved security for the project with JHF as part of the scope of work. The only reason it's coming separately now is because Ms. Phillips got a better deal. And so instead of it being part of what JHF was contracting for, it is being paid for by us and being credited back. So it is actually costing less than you already approved.
And just to
respond to that,
well, can I? No, just
sure,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm wondering, Nick, if you have, or Trustee Ochipinti, if, like, do you know what a security guard would cost annually?
So for me, I'm not an expert in construction or security, but this is why I'm asking for more information. So I was actually going to ask that question. So
right, because, well, I'm asking that question to you because you're saying that, you're comparing costs. And I'm thinking, because it wouldn't be just one security guard, like we would need multiple security guards for a construction site. And I am speaking from someone who has experience with all of, having worked on multiple construction sites with Habitat. And cameras were a standard practice because it is very expensive to hire a security guard. It's more expensive than it is to have cameras. And to have a single person monitoring the cameras than to have multiple people guarding a site. And the reason why you have to have multiple people guarding a site is because the piping is so expensive. And especially with a building of our size and the multiple entryways, you would have to have at least 5 to 6 minimum and stationed around multiple areas where they couldn't move, just so, because when people case, they learn their movements because they normally roll in rotation. So you have to keep them stationary so they can watch all the entry points to protect all that piping. So it's much better to have one camera or multiple cameras that one person can watch. And I'm telling you this just from having this presentation given to me through my work with Habitat. So for me, especially with this being a multi-million-dollar project and knowing how you're not liking to approve change orders, for us not to have to do a change order on this project because we lost money because people went in and stole the important plumbing and different other piping that's very expensive, that brings in a lot of money on the, when they go wherever they go to sell it, for us not to have to reinstall that. So spending this money now is going to save us a whole lot of money later, because I can tell you in my time with Habitat, even with the cameras, people, they still broke in. They were able to catch them because of the cameras and get the stuff back. But even with the cameras, there's still significant risk with the construction site.
The other thing, let me just add to that, key thing that Ms. Van Rapport said was there would be a credit back on the project because of the savings here. So in this particular case, it'd be sort of a deductive change order back to JHF, which, and as opposed to the additive change orders that we've seen. The other thing too is, remember, we need to be able to keep this type of investment will actually help us protect the overall investment, as well as being able to protect the eventual rent that we do charge our faculty and staff. Remember, our target is to be able to achieve a 50% below market rate below market rate rent. If these costs continue to go up, if we were to have material on site that was stolen, whether it is piping or later on, the types of furnishings that'll go into the project, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of material that would have an adverse effect to our ability to charge the lower market rate rent that we've been targeting.
Also to open on time, and one of the other key issues here is that, we have a lot of teachers and staff waiting to get, and they took jobs much, earlier, and not knowing that we're going to have the delays with COVID and planning to be in a place, in a few months, because our original open date was much sooner than it was. So any delays that we have due to theft is going to cause our faculty and staff to have to wait even longer. And so that's another really key consideration. And I also want to say that at the last meeting, Ms. Van Radvorst did explain why we were going to have the two different approvals. Like that was explained. So I just want to again caution against saying that she's not being transparent, because it is kind of a personal attack, and she's does a stellar job for us. And Nick, you and I were both on the board when we did not have a good CBO, and we have a fantastic one now who always dots every I and crosses every T. And this was something that I know was explained to us before, and she's been incredibly transparent throughout this whole process.
Yeah, just to respond to that really quickly. Thank you for all the information. A lot of this is new information, which is one of the reasons in the first place why I pulled the item. I requested to pull the item because, one, I'm not familiar with thieves who take pipes, which to me would be really heavy to move, but I'm not familiar with construction. I don't know this is a common occurrence. Two, cost is in the realm of why I asked. If we are getting a cost savings that was not really fully disclosed, and I would like the public to hear that, at very least myself and the public. But secondly, that's one of the reasons why I asked, is because of money, so we can provide these savings to our community. The Faculty and Staff Housing Project I have been a supporter of from the very beginning. Any disagreement and what I've been asking for in terms of change orders have been to watch to see how our Westmore project is approved, is constructed and is finalized and consistent with our budget. That's one of the things you're referring to. Secondly, while I disagree with some of the concepts and understanding of how we're going to approach the rest of the Serramonte Del Rey development, my question is not a personal attack. I will take it as a personal attack when somebody accuses me of making a personal attack, because that's not what I'm doing here. So please don't misconstrue my concern for our district and how we spend money as any personal attack. And to Ms. Van Rapport, that is not an attack. I hope you don't take it that way, but I will ask for transparency on any given issue. And I think that we all have that responsibility as trustees. And so,
right, I agree that we have that responsibility, but I think we also have the responsibility that when people are being transparent, to say that, and not to say that they're not being transparent when they aren't. And she has been transparent throughout this whole process, but you are continually saying that she's not being transparent. And so that's what I'm calling out.
Okay, so I'm calling you out on calling me out. So that is not what I said.
I'm going to have
please don't put that. Yeah.
Say what you have to say, Mr. Ochapinti, very briefly, because we need to move on with this.
Right.
If you have no more questions on this matter, can we
move to approve?
Yeah. Hold on. Wait, excuse me. No, President.
Hold on a second. Just let him
Let me
talk.
respond. Can people please stop interrupting me out of disrespect for the integrity of the board? Thank you, President Tejada. I do not have any further questions, except though I'd like to see information on future surveillance in our district. If this is a cost savings, great. I would like to see the data on that. I haven't seen much of this because I know the facilities committee does cover this. I will request later on that we have a facilities committee report to the board so that the public has a chance to have input as well. But I do appreciate the work on this. And I would appreciate it if we didn't misconstrue each other's words, because that does cause dissension. And I don't mean to put it that way, but as President Tejada, as you mentioned earlier, these are disagreements that we can have as a board, because that is our job, to discuss these matters in public. And that is all I will say on that. Thank you.
We have a motion.
Move to approve the CASEL contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So there was a request for information that we're unclear on what that request was from Mr.
From Mr. Ochpenty?
Yeah.
All right, so I would like the information on what we could look at in future consideration of security in terms of what the cost comparison is. And additionally, on the current and ongoing discussions that are had in the facility subcommittee that now raises as a future agenda item, but that we have a discussion on what these matters are before they arrive on the consent agenda, so that we're not just pulling these items as, you know, to discussion we haven't had yet. Thank you.
Well, just really quickly, I think we should hold all these items and when we are working, and if maybe we need to do our board governance session a little earlier so we can clarify the role of a subcommittee, because that is what you entrust us as a subcommittee, to vet these things for you so that when they come to consent, there's a whole lot of work that goes into, as you said in this meeting, you don't have the full understanding. Andy and I both have experience with construction and building, not as much as a lot of the people, the experts that we've hired to do this, but we do have some experience. That's why we understand it. That's why, though in full board, including yourself, appointed us to be on this subcommittee to work on this item. And it kind of negates the role of the subcommittee if we're gonna do the work so that, and present it to you guys and say, this is what our findings are. And then you're saying we still need to go through everything all over again. It's kind of dismissing the work of having a subcommittee. So like, for example, you are on, you're going to be on the equity subcommittee now, and I'm going to trust that you're going to be the voice and do the work of the board. So when you come back to me and say, this is our recommendation, I'm going to go with the recommendation, because that's why you're on there, to do that work for the full board. So I'm wondering, you're putting a whole lot of extra work that Tina's already going through with us, and they're already overextended. Is there a way that you can just trust Andy and I to do the job that you asked us to do, instead of seeming to want to be like a third member on the subcommittee?
I'll respond to that, but actually Superintendent Preston had her hand up. I would like to give her the floor to speak.
Thanks. I actually was just going to make a comment with regard to the item that was on tonight's meeting. The facilities subcommittee doesn't actually meet about these topics that have been on the last few board agendas. That's really just the work of the staff here. So that's not, I just wanted to clarify that. This wasn't something that was discussed in facilities subcommittee.
Thank you. And to respond, Trustee Salahuddin, there is an equal amount of trust I think we share across, our board in terms of the subcommittees and what we do, right? I totally get that. And I've always worked in that fashion. With respect to this particular project, there's been so little information shared with the public. And I've not called these matters out to call out any individual board member or in any disrespectful fashion. I simply, if I don't have information, I can't approve a contract sight unseen. I can't move on those things. Actually responsible as a public official to do so. However, with respect to what Superintendent Preston is telling me and what you're telling me, what I'm asking is that we have a fuller report, because this is a multi-million-dollar, and if the other 5 buildings are approved to move forward in all the fashion that we're talking about, we should have more public comment and more public input. The prior session we had on that, only 10 people were able to attend. This is during a pandemic. It is hard, even with all the outreach we're doing, and I worked in marketing outreach for many years. I understand what it is to reach the public and still have maybe like less input than you wanted to begin with. So this is an ongoing project, and I feel like we should have these discussions. So I will still ask that we have this on the agenda at another time. But in the meantime, I am trusting, and I have worked in good faith with this board to see through each part of this project. I might have different opinions about the garden, for example. I feel like these are issues that we should be working forward with, respect to what President Tejada was asking for earlier. We may not agree on all these things, but some kind of unity on these issues and understanding where we're moving forward and how we're going to include the community is absolutely important. And that is why I asked for these things. So
right. And I would say
yeah.
I completely agree with you and on that respect. And I'm not against community. I always want community input, but I think we have to also recognize that maybe the community doesn't really want to have input on this. That if they wanted to show there was nothing, it was easier to come to a Zoom meeting than any other meeting, and that they were well informed and they decided that they didn't want to come. So I think, and like I said, Nick, I have texted you a couple of times to try to talk offline about some of these things, just to go over some, and you have not responded. So I will say here that I would love to schedule some time so that we could talk about some of these things, to go over whatever misunderstandings or whatever you don't understand or whatever information you don't feel that you have. But the outreach, I don't know what else we could have done to try to get more community input. And we met today, as Andy reported out, that we do have ongoing plans to try to do more outreach to the community. But if the community, happy people don't come to meetings, if people are fine with the plan, that's usually the indication that they don't want to come. If we've mailed them, flyered, sent emails, it's not like we're holding this information hostage and saying, well, nobody showed up. No, we went door to door. We sent them we mailed something in the mail. We put flyers up in the community. We went on social media. We informed the city council. The city of Daly City sent something out to the community. And then we had a citywide one that went out citywide. So it's not like we're not informing the community or not saying we don't want public comment on these things. And any other ideas that you have to try to get the community to come in, we welcome. So, that and that's where I'm saying, you may not be your intent to make it, but it seems like you're trying to say that we're not trying to do these things when we're trying extremely hard, and we always welcome community input. I would love more community input, because I think the more community that we get in here to hear the plan, the more support we're going to get. It's a fantastic plan.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll look forward to future public comment and community input, and we can always agendize this as the issue is ongoing. I know the city council meeting that we were at previously last week, they did ask us to continue these conversations, I think around the project in whole, but in the spirit of that, I just would like to echo that, and I look forward to moving forward with the project with the community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. So I'm sorry? We passed. We voted. Yes, we all agreed. Okay, so on to action item 15A1, approval of stipend for unrepresented employees. Ms. Basuino, I believe.
Good evening, President Tejada, members of the board. The proposed stipend payment provides compensation to management and unrepresented employees equal to what was provided to the employees represented by AFT 1481. The financial impact of the stipend compensation to management and unrepresented employees will be approximately $76,000 to be paid with COVID relief funds.
Great. Do we have any questions?
Nope. Move to approve the stipend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 15B2, Resolution 2020-2021 20/26, establishing Fund 56. Did I miss one? 15B1. Oh wait, where are we? Oh, okay, 15A2. Sorry. So it's the contract negotiation proposal for the 2020-2021 school year. JUHSD AFT 1481.
Good evening again. AFT and JUHSD have presented their initial proposals for negotiations. We have agreed to discuss the combining of the BIS and OS contracts, salary and benefits, and also agree that all current MOUs side letters shall remain in effect pending the completion of the next full bargaining cycle.
Okay, if there are no questions, we can get a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now 15B1, approval of negotiated school mitigation fees for Point Martin.
Thank you, President Tejada. Tonight before you is a proposal from the Point Martin Development Agency around school mitigation fees. They would like to prepay the fees. It's paying a higher rate of 4.424 per square foot rather than $4.08 per square foot, so that they can, like I said, prepay rather than pay as they have the proposal for each section of the development. And Dale Scott, our financial advisor, helped negotiate the settlement, and he's here tonight in case you have any questions.
Hi, Dale. Have you written any books lately? Okay, if we have any questions? If none, can we get a motion?
So my only question was, well, first of all, thank you for negotiating this for us, Dale, and it's good to see you. And so, like, I was reading it, and I was like, is this like the lottery, you know, where, okay, so that's exactly what it is, where you're taking the upfront instead of the long term, because you never know what's going to happen with the long term. So you're just taking your cash now. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Move to approve the negotiated school mitigation fees for Point Martin.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks so much for hanging in there. It's nice to see you, Dale. Hopefully everything's okay with you and your family.
Yes. Let's zoom in on his office. So now we have item 15B2, resolution 2020-2021/26, establishing Fund 56. Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you again, President Tejada. Before you tonight is a resolution to establish Fund 56, which would be for us to keep track of our debt service on the COPs. Last year, when we issued the COPs, we established Fund 40 for the capital, and I forgot to bring the part for the debt service fund. So Fund 56 is necessary to keep track of that.
Ms. Van Raphorst, can you just briefly explain debt service?
Sure. So debt service is the amount of money that you have to pay in interest for the loans that we have taken out for the COPs. So the fund accounting has you keep track of the interest and the principal separately for transparency. And just to remind everyone, the COPs that we took out, we've taken out actually 3 COPs. One for the development of the new district office space, one for the faculty and staff housing project, and then one for the entitlements on the rest of the Serramonte revitalization project.
Thank you for that. I just wanted people to understand, like, it's not like a specific debt, but that we have to separate the 2 funds. I move to approve resolution 2020/2021/26. Establishing Fund 56.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now for item B4, the 2019-2020 financial audit report. Did I miss another one? It's these glasses. I can't. You're next. You're next, Andy.
Rosie, I understand your pain. I was going through a class. I was like, where am I?
Where am I? Okay, Mr. Smarty Pants, tell me, you lead it. 15B3 resolution 2020-2021/27, appointing members to the JUHSD Educational Housing Corporation.
Great, thank you again. So this item is to establish our housing board. We've been calling it that, but it'll be called the Educational Housing Corporation, which is a nonprofit to manage our faculty and staff housing project. And so there are a list of directors that you would be approving tonight as these directors, and then the directors will meet to establish the actual nonprofit with the bylaws and all of the rules, and that will come back to the board at a later date for the establishment of the actual nonprofit. We've been working with our county counsel, John Niblin, on making sure we're doing this all properly, and we have been following the model set by Skyline and the rest of San Mateo County Community College District, since they've been doing faculty and staff housing for quite a while. The proposed directors include 2 board trustees, 1 district employee, and 3 community members with backgrounds in development or housing.
Okay, if there are no questions.
No, I think it's just really great. And I really feel blessed that we do have the community college district to be a mentor in this process. And so we can just model, like, it's no need to recreate the wheel. We can just model what they've already successfully been able to do. So yeah, I'm very glad about that. And move to approve resolution 2020-2022/27.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we have the 2019-2020 financial audit report.
Great, thank you again. So tonight from Siobhan and Associates, we have Paul Pham. He is one of our auditors, and I will let him make a brief statement of our audit report before the board accepts or votes to accept it.
All right, thank you, Tina, and then thank you, board, for inviting me out to share with you the results of the June 30th, 2020 audit. In the interest of time, what I'll do is I will just go straight to the audit results, and at the end, if anyone wants me to go over any key financial numbers or the audit process or standards or scope that we've adhered to, I'd be more than happy to do that. So the audit went really well. We issued an unmodified opinion, which is a good thing. It means the financial statements were presented fairly in all material respects. As far as the internal controls of our financial reporting and on compliance, our audit did not identify any deficiencies in internal control over financial reporting that were considered to be material weaknesses. Our tests disclosed no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under governmental auditing standards. And with respect to compliance, the district complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements of state programs. And so there were no significant uncorrected adjustments, no difficulties during the audit other than some of the restrictions due to COVID. So I wanted to thank Tina and her team for the extra work they put in, because a remote audit is pretty cumbersome sometimes, doing all the scanning and getting everything together. So we definitely appreciated all the extra help from her team. And finally, we didn't have any disagreements with management. So overall, the district's doing a great job. Tina and her team are handling the district's finances very well, and they've made some improvements over the years. Last year, you guys did have a finding, as well as in the past, and this year, you guys had a clean audit. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Unmute yourselves. I think everyone should unmute themselves so we can hear the clapping.
I'd like to really thank Paul and his team. Siobhan and Associates has been a pleasure to work with. They have helped us strengthen our processes, and it's really been great to work with them. They're also very patient with all of our staff and helping them understand what it is that they need to submit, and all of the site staff who have been helping along with the business office staff. It's really been a team effort. So I appreciate you, Paul, and your team. I hope you pass that along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And can I just say too that that's kind of remarkable that we don't have any recommendations with the amount of procedure and process and the number of controls that I'm sure we must have in place as a school district with our budget. Again, I just want to thank Tina and all of her staff, and also thank you, Mr. Pham. I mean, the audit is a really important time of year. I really take a lot of time to go through the report just to have some backup for us, because this is not our full-time job, and it's really hard to keep track and monitor everything. So just to have that one extra piece of backup to let us know that we do have the controls and the procedures in place, and that is part of a good audit, is to help us strengthen the procedures that we have in place, and to make sure that we are not just like gotcha moments, but that we are operating efficiently, but also well within the parameters that the state and the federal government gives us. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the audit.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for hanging
Thank
out there.
you. Thank
Hanging
you,
in
Mr.
there
Pham.
with us, Mr. Pham.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
And now 15C1, amendment of previously approved minutes.
Thank you, President Tejada. This item is just to have the board meeting minutes from February the 23rd of 2020 reapproved. They were initially approved on March 16th of 2021, but they were amended at the request of Trustee Ojapinti to reflect his abstention. And so it's being brought to you for reapproval.
Do you have a motion?
Move to approve the revised minutes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Yeah. Okay. So on to 15C2, the district equity statement. Ms. Presta.
Thank you, President Tejada. So I recommend that the board adopt the district equity statement. The Board of Trustees, along with the district's equity task force, written an equity statement, which will be used to inform policies and practices throughout our school district. Our equity statement will serve as a roadmap for decision-making and will light the path for systemic change. Once approved, we will share the equity statement widely with our community of stakeholders. And what we see is updating our equity policy, creating a resolution that will explain terms. We also have a vision to translate it into different languages so that it can be shared widely with our different stakeholder groups. And I'd like to read the statement to you and for the community. JUHSD uses our educational systems to right current and historical inequities by examining and understanding how our decision-making reinforces or interrupts injustice. We embrace inclusion, value diversity, and educate ourselves in order to confront and dismantle systemic inequities to bring about a more just society. JUHSD commits to engaging, educating, and empowering all students with an intentional focus on those underserved, inadequately served, or disenfranchised by educational institutions and systems, eliminating disparities in educational outcomes. So I want to, before we open it up, just thank the board for the ongoing work that I had the opportunity to step into when I became superintendent. Work that was already begun, and I'm just impressed with the dedication of our board and the focus on equity. I also want to thank the Equity Task Force and the work that the Equity Steering Committee is going to be doing, because this is, I think, really the most important of the work that we do. And there's a real dedication and focus that we are, that there's much to be done, as we've talked about earlier tonight. There's so much to be done, and I think that that what we can do in schools
will really lay the foundation for a better society. So, thank you.
You have any comments? Yes, Missing Garrett.
I just want to echo what Superintendent Presta just mentioned, but I also especially want to appreciate all the work that the student trustee put in to help make this statement possible. I was just so impressed by their voice and their recommendations on how we should really put forth this statement. And I mean, it really meant so much to me that they had their input while we were writing this and actually hung out with us on their Saturdays, giving up their weekends to do this most important work for all our students. So again, I just want to give a big shout out to them, of course, you know, as well as all the staff and everyone that has made this possible. So thank you very much.
Well said, well said. So do we have a motion? Oh, Mr. Ochpinti.
Yeah, I think Trustee Garrett said it well. I just want to say too, you know, it begins with these kind of statements and making sure that our district knows the kind of work that's been put in for people around our district, including our student trustees, and that it moves forward with action. And so I'm looking forward to that and all the work that our district is doing ongoing and putting this together and all the issues related to it, which are many, but we won't name them all here, obviously. But looking forward to that and being a part of that. Thank you.
And I just want to add,
Mr. Lee.
It's been quite the journey, and I know for me personally, just being able to have been part of the doing the equity network work with Ms. Salahuddin going back, I think, almost 3 years now. When we did this with the other districts, and to take that look within, the fact is, we as a district, this was already, you could already see that this was starting to become a part of who we are as a district. But it was really cool for the two of us to be able to be part of this process to sort of help, sort of kickstart it a little bit maybe, and do the hard work ourselves as a board, as two board members, and then bring it back to the full board, and all of us as a board doing the hard work ourselves to actually look at our own biases and how we can change. And then to see all the work that's been done throughout the district. I mean, that there were pockets throughout already doing the work, and that this was a way to sort of bring everything under the one umbrella, and really incredibly grateful that we finally came to this statement, which really summarizes who we are and who we aspire to continue to be. So thank you all for the heavy lifting. And with that, I move to accept the district equity statement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Consideration of future agenda items.
So not at this work study. I know we're going to have a governance work study sometime in the summer. I would also like to see that as bringing back of the goals, so that we can do a goal setting session. And I would say that there needs to be board goals. We can get the superintendent goals, and then at that time align with our board goals. And then now that we do have the equity statement, I would like to start looking at policy. And I think I haven't been on Gammon Online for a while. I don't know if my password still works, but if we can reset, and then I think I'm just going to start pulling policy that we would like to start looking at. I don't know if we want to set an area, maybe that we look at different areas first, but I would like to start looking at some policy as a board, because that's our purview, to looking at it, is it in line with the equity statement. I'm in there. And earlier that I did bring up the SRO, and that's one area, but there's lots of other different areas as well. I know Mr. Ochpinti brought up ethnic studies, and I know that work is ongoing to develop it, but still looking at the policy around the curriculum and how we choose curriculum, what books we choose, et cetera. That's all in policy. So we can do that work separate from so not to interfere with the work. I'm not a teacher and educational leader, so I know two different pathways.
Yeah, I think regarding the policy, maybe we can have a small team of us, two of us, to work on that and start pulling it. We can do that, and I'd be happy to work on that with you, or with someone.
Well,
that-
Trustee Ochipinti's on the, I mean, I think probably
on
tied
the
with
equity. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so that's something you can work on.
I was going to say, just to add to that, yeah, I think we'll all be doing work in, respectively, and with respect to our conversation earlier, we're all doing work within subcommittees, but I would also, of course, encourage everybody to bring those ideas, because we want the input from everybody, including the public. And I know those discussions are ongoing. So yeah, thank you for that item. I'm looking forward to discussing it. Yeah, all together.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, we can motion to adjourn. Hurry.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Mariah's waiting.
Nay, nay.
Aye. What? Did someone say
Dismissed it.
nay?
No one is.
Mr. Ochipinti, did you have a question?
No,
No,
Oh, you had your
peace.
hand
I was
raised.
saying aye.
Okay, peace.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.